Today we're going to make a lighter clam chowder, and while I'm not claiming this is a healthy recipe, it is definitely lower calorie than many other online recipes I've seen. Step 1 is to cut our large onion in half. After you do that, we need to discard the skin. You can be gentle about this and take your time, but if you want to be faster, you could just discard the first layer of the onion as well. Now, we gotta dice the onion. So step 1 is to lay the cut side down, put your hand on top of that to keep it in place, and with your knife, make cuts parallel to the table, but don't go all the way through the onion, just go mostly through it. Afterwards, take the onion, still cut side down, place the root end facing away from you, and make vertical cuts straight down across the onion. Finally, rotate the onion 90 degrees so that the root end is closer to your non-knife holding hand, and then make cuts again straight down. This will get you even dices of onion. Once you get towards the end, you can either discard the rest, or you can do your best to dice it up to roughly even sizes, same as the other slices. Next up is the celery. So to start, I like to peel off the stems, save them for later, and then afterwards cut off the very tip and the very tail of the celery. Then I divide the celery into 3 sections according to the thickness. This is for an even dice, so the thickest section I cut into 3 parts, the middle section I cut in half, and the smallest I leave alone. Then slice it up and try and get as uniform sizes as you can. Now we have the carrot. What I have here is maybe the thickest and weirdest carrot I've ever seen, but regardless, I like to cut a little sliver across the carrot because of the round shape. This makes it easier to cut on a more stable surface. Then we cut the carrot into even-sized planks. Cut those planks into logs. And then cut the logs into cubes, again going for a uniform size as best as you can. Lastly, we have the potato, and again, cut a little sliver so that it can lay flat on the cutting board. And just like the carrot, we cut the potato into planks, the planks into logs, and then cut the logs into cubes, going for the same size as best as we can. I know it may seem unnecessary to have everything be so similar, and if you want to do a rough chop, you definitely can. But the reason we want the onions to be the same as the other onions, the celery be the same as the other celery, is because if they're the same size, they'll cook at the same rate. This way we avoid some of the vegetables being brick hard and others being absolute mush. Now we get a pot and put it on medium heat, letting it heat up for a bit. Afterwards, we add our 1 tablespoon of butter and spread it around. Then we add the onions and spread those around to make sure they're all coated in the butter, and we let them sweat for just a bit until they turn clear. Once that happens, we add the celery and the carrots. Now we need to decide if we want a pure white chowder or if color doesn't matter. If you want the pure white chowder, I would salt now because it will dry out the moisture from inside the vegetables and bring it outside, preventing too much browning. If you don't care about color, then you can let your vegetables become golden brown and then salt them. Personally, I like a whiter chowder, so I salt now. Either way, we let the vegetables cook, giving them an occasional stir. Once they've softened just a bit, we add the flour. If you like it very thick, I would add 3 tablespoons. If you like it thinner, I would add 2 tablespoons. Regardless, stir the vegetables around to coat all of them in the flour. It's going to form a thick, gummy paste, and that's fine. We now let all that just sit there for a bit to cook the raw flour taste out. After about 1 to 2 minutes, we add our clam juice. And there's a couple ways to do this. The first method is to put a strainer over the pot and just dump your can of clams into the strainer. If you don't have one of those, or you don't want to dirty another dish, you can pour the clam juice direct from the can into the bowl, making sure the lid is still on to catch all of the clams. Afterwards, we stir everything around to dissolve all of the flour. It's important that your clam juice is either room temperature or cold, so this way we avoid any flour clumping. Then we add the potatoes and add enough water just to cover them. Then we pop the lid on and bring the water up to a boil. And once we hit a boil, we lower the heat to get a gentle simmer. It should bubble about as much as a flat soda. We maintain this until the potatoes are cooked through, meaning that they can be easily pierced or cut in half with a spoon. Now we add the milk and, if you'd like, 1 tablespoon of butter, but that part is optional. Give it a good stir to make sure everything's incorporated and bring it to a boil. After it gets to a boil, be careful though, because dairy can boil over out of the pot very quickly. Lower the heat back to a gentle simmer and reduce the soup to the thickness that you like. Once the soup is to your desired consistency, we add the clams and stir it around, again to make sure they are well incorporated. And lastly, we check for final seasoning, adding more salt if needed and a bit of acid. This can be lemon juice, vinegar, anything really. Because the dairy fat coats the palate and can deaden some of the flavors, the acid will cut through that, brightening those flavors and making them more noticeable. After that's incorporated, you are done. Enjoy your clam chowder.